What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Stanley Parable, a game that is also blind to me. The only thing that I know is that there are multiple endings, and it all depends on your choice. So, today we are just gonna dive right in. End is never the end is never the end is loading, nah. And it's gonna take forever to load. Oh, it's going a little bit faster than I thought it would.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Okay.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor at the desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month
Sounds fun.
of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in,
Okay.
as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Aw. Yay.
And then one day, something very peculiar, something that would forever change Stanley.
The Stanley
Something he
Parable.
would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
So, for this first playthrough, I'm just gonna follow every single thing the narrator says. I want to start with that ending. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay. Left.
Yet there was not
Tips
a
for
single
not
person
getting
here
fired.
either.
Talk
Feeling
less.
a wave of disbelief,
Do
Stanley
unbelievable,
decided
amazing
to go
work
up to
all
his
the time,
boss's
every
office,
day.
hoping he might find an answer there.
How to solve a dispute. Let it ball up inside you. Take it out passive aggressively on other coworkers. Reset. Resent. Okay, whatever. Okay.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay. It's open door. There we go. I can't go to the executive bathroom. This is a really nice office. Can't go in there either. Okay, can't do anything. Let's just go to the office.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked,
This is nice.
unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number.
What is that PIN number?
2845.
2845.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
This way? I'm gonna assume it's just this way. Oh. This is a really slow moving elevator. Nope, it's sped up. Okay. Aiding, loading, low.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he
Oh.
felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
It's kind of dark.
Stanley walked straight ahead
Mind
through the
control
large door
facility.
that read Mind Control Facility.
Ooh, escape. I'll do that in a bit. I want to go this way first. Okay. So, lights.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Okay. Cameras.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Okay then. Well, let's see what this third button does. Button.
This
Back to
mind
numbers.
control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
So it looks like 2 people have been fired, and 1 is a pirate. Yeah, I know you saw that. It was up there. One of them is a pirate.
No. He refused to believe it. He
There it is.
couldn't accept it.
Pirate.
His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was
Where
it
am I?
even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? There was the groove,
Guess
the
I'm
heart
going
of the operation.
here.
Controls labeled with emotions. Happy
Nope.
or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past
4.
began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and
stuck.
for all.
That door just opened, so I'm assuming I should go that way for the narrator. Mind control idle, awaiting input. So, from here, let's disable the mind controls, since that's what the narrator told us. So, off. Oh. Got dark. It's really dark. Right?
And a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
I can't see anything.
Yes.
Oh.
He had won. He had defeated the machine. Unshackled himself from someone else's command.
Bird.
Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone?
Oh.
How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not
Slowest
knowledge or even power
door
that he had been seeking,
ever.
but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all.
This looks nice.
It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open
Well,
door.
I can't yet. The door isn't open. Thank you, narrator. It kind of reminds me of a Little Big Planet narrator, but let's do it.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin.
I don't have
The
control.
feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Okay. End is never the loading in here. So we're back here. Okay, so this time I'm going to ignore the narrator at all points and see what happens. Because that should be a different ending.
When Stanley
Ooh.
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
So I'll go to the right.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ooh, this is a nice employee lounge.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring.
It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
It's really nice. Can I get a soda? No, I guess it.
Yes,
Oh.
really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Fine.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
So go straight.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
So, misuse of cargo lift, $1,000. Jumping off the cargo lift is $5,000. Fine.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the
could go
story
that
has been
way.
about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
But who is her?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Okay. That looks very dark. Oh.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
I picked up the phone. Oh.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Oh. No. Can I leave?
Gotcha. Oh, come on.
Can I
Did
leave?
you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley.
I want to
I'm
leave.
trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really
No.
going on here.
No.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Okay, I'll just go into this apartment. Can I go to...
This is a very
I can't
sad
go to
story
bed.
about the death of a man named Stanley.
Oh. Why?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
8?
Look at him there, pushing
Oh.
buttons, doing exactly
Oh,
what he's
no.
told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
At least I ate lunch. Gee.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
I guess watch TV.
And so he began to fantasize about
there's
his own job. First, he imagined
changed.
that one day while at work,
And my
he
TV's
stepped up
gone.
from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Let's crack open a cold one with the boys.
So he went further. He
And
imagined that he came
that's
to two
new.
open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
So, I haven't left my office, but I just ate lunch.
As he wandered through this fantasy
no.
world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
I guess there's a game with a baby. Okay. I'll press Q to tell my kids a story.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free.
I can't
Surely
even
there's
get
an
close
answer
to
down
it.
some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
I'll tell my wife I love her, I
But
guess.
there is no answer.
And
How could there possibly
there's
be?
my desk.
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one.
One.
And I'm trying to tell him this. That in this world he can never be anything but an observer. That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't
Fun.
stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
And don't think I have a choice.
You see? Can he just not get me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him
wanna
look
die.
at himself?
I'm gonna question
Suppose I
nothing.
can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time you'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Please die.
Stanley pushed a button. And I tried
Button.
again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
It died. Okay, so this means finish that ending. Oh. It's blue now.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply
The
missed a
whiteboard
memo.
ending. Okay. Okay, so I'll go here.
When Stanley came to a set of two open
And
doors,
I'll go
he
through the
entered the door on his
left.
left.
And I'll continue going. But what happens if I go
Yet there was not a single person here either.
down the
Feeling a wave of disbelief,
stairs?
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping coming to a
Nope.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Except I went downstairs.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy,
Why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe,
It's
he thought to
repeating.
himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley
Exits
pondered
is-
this, he began to make other
it's
strange
repeating.
observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why
True.
did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Okay.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating?
They
No,
are.
Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
I don't think it's a dream.
Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation.
Why is there
His
no way out?
co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. He thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real
it's
life job
even.
pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy
The rooms
this
are getting
while I'm
less
still
and less.
lucid.
No, okay,
So,
1, 2,
he imagined
B4.
himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh, I'm actually flying.
Then he
I'm
imagined
actually
himself
flying.
soaring through space on a magical starfield. And
Oh,
it too
God, no.
appeared. It
Stop.
was so much fun.
Stop.
And Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid?
Okay.
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner.
Why does it not end?
Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming
no.
about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not
I
see him
don't think
float
it's
and
a
make the
dream.
magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one.
If I hope
Let
that's
me
true.
wake up, he thought to
I
himself.
really doubt it,
I'm through with this dream.
but I hope that's
I
true.
wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly
But
the way it's always been.
I thought I didn't have a wife.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
I am okay. Okay.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is
Oh,
Stanley.
no.
I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I
Oh,
must
no.
be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went
Oh.
black.
Okay.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work.
Oh.
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would
Why
soon
is-
turn to go call for
why do
ambulance,
I,
for just a few brief moments,
I have a
she
feeling that
considered
that's
the strange
us.
man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Okay then. So, that was another ending. I want to do one more. I'm going to make this a long video. There's a whole lot of papers.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
I love that the narration changes. There's papers everywhere. So what I plan on doing this time is I plan on following the narrator, his instructions, until we get to the mind control room, in which case I want to go through the exit, or the escape, and see what happens.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
There's no more papers. Okay.
Yet there was not
Tips
a
for
single
not getting
person
fired.
there either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Up. Through this door.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was
that's exactly what I'm doing.
Behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number.
It starts with a 2.
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
We go down once again on this slow starting elevator. Loading. And shortly there's going to be a branch off to the left that says escape. We're going to take that. We're going to see what happens if we do.
Stanley walked straight ahead
this
to the
one right
large
here.
door that read Mind Control Facility.
Except not.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
That's what I'm going for.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to
still
turn around
there.
and get back on track.
I don't care. I'm going to keep going.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
That's what I do. Ooh. So, does that mean I'm gonna die? I was falling. I'm still falling. I guess I didn't die. Oh no.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, it reflected that his life
looks
had
like
no
death.
consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture.
Oh
He
no.
doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this
No.
world is. Perhaps his death
I
will have made
can't
him
even
lost,
jump or
cutting
anything.
the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell,
Oh
Stanley.
boy. Yay, time to die. Oh,
Farewell, Stanley,
What?
cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Okay, I'm falling again. No. The Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would
Ooh.
restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
What is this?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was
Wait.
already dead from the moment he hit start?
This is the layout of the office. Go. Because... Whoa. And this is the room with the two doors where you make the choice. Okay. A different computer. One has solitaire. Employee database and something I can't read. Some credits for the game. I'm gonna go this way. Maintenance room. It's like pieces of the game. What is this? Warzone. An ending where Stanley would end up on a battlefield of aliens. And they would wage... The action game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. And it was too jokey. Oh, I mean, I would have been okay. I kind of would have found that a little bit funny. But, yeah, I can get what they're saying. Yeah. The apartment timer. 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Not picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. That makes sense. It's this way. Meeting room. Maintenance layout. Flow of hallways following the first two doors. Okay. So yeah, honestly, if you go to the left, you obey. If you don't, you disobey. There's a way to get to a maintenance hall that I didn't know about. So what's this way? This is the Zending model. 4th version of the ending. I know that the Zending is a thing. I've heard about it, but countdown desk. This is the monitor room elevator. And I think this is the end.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Okay.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me.
Oh no, I'm
You can
back
still
here.
save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
I let time choose for me. I didn't feel like hitting the escape quit thing. Eventually it'll load again. Knowing this game, it will. Maybe. Okay. I have to do it, even though I died. So, I'm gonna quit to the menu then. Well, I know there may be some issues with the recording. I'll check and see after this is done. But this game is definitely one that I want to bring in some of my friends for. Get some fresh blind experience like what you saw with me. So if you enjoyed this long video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss whatever game I'm doing next, whether that be like a Clone Drone in the Danger Zone or Undertale or who knows. I haven't decided yet. But as always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.